Welcome to the podcast. So today we're going to be talking about self-compassion and having self-compassion for yourself as you go on a health journey or weight loss journey or body change journey. I want to emphasize the importance of understanding that these things are usually a learning process and it takes time for not only for you to get results, but for you to be okay with learning. We have this way of being in society that has sort of taught us that we have to do things perfectly and we have to show up in a specific way, and all the work that we produce has to be of a high quality right off the bat, right? But we don't give ourselves time to actually stumble through things, have things be messy, have things be chaotic, have things have there be a struggle. Learning is something that requires you to go through this journey. And, as adults, we're just expected, your work's got to be good. You got to show up. It's got to be great. Or you're doing it wrong, or there's something wrong with you, right? But there's nothing wrong with you. Everybody goes through a journey when they're learning, and it's going to be messy and it's going to be uncomfortable, and that's okay. And we forget that it's okay for things to be imperfect. One of the things I'm always saying to clients is that imperfect action is better than no action. Because if you spend all your time trying to make something perfect, it's just never gonna get there. My mom tells me this all the time, but growing up, I grew up in Casablanca, Morocco, right? So I was learning French, Arabic, English, all sort of at the same time. And as a child, I was one of those strange children where I wouldn't say words unless I could say them perfectly. And looking back, I'm like, God, I wish I had just fucked up more. I wish I had tried more. I wish I had practiced more. I wish I had stumbled through stuff, because now I know French. I'm not fluent, but I still have that hesitation of, well, I don't want it to sound wrong. I don't want to sound funny. I don't want to say something inappropriate or have my grammar be wrong. I'm afraid to look like I don't know what I'm saying, or embarrassed to have it come out wrong, right? A lot of us are, right? Even in this moment here, sitting in this podcast where I'm recording and I'm talking to a camera, I'm worried I'm going to say something wrong. And you'll see there's edits, obviously. But that whole experience, that's part of learning. These recordings, I'm not going to come out perfect, right? It's not going to be great right off the bat. There'll be stumbling. I'll jumble my words. I'll say things wrong. And, my voice will shake and I'll sound weird and it'll be uncomfortable. Learning is uncomfortable, right? And we forget that. We forget that because as adults, we have to show up in a particular way, right? Society says we do. And everything in our childhood has taught us that. So the whole reason for this episode is to recognize that learning is a journey and learning is messy, and that is okay. And when you're trying to build new habits and you're trying to create a foundation of healthy habits within your life, you're not going to know how to do it right away. And it's not going to look pretty right away. And so having that compassion for yourself and your journey and your experience is really, really, really important. Because if you're just mad at yourself that things aren't perfect all the time, it's going to fucking suck, right? You're not going to enjoy the journey and you're going to give up. So that's what we're talking about today on the podcast. Hopefully some of it will be useful for you, and stay tuned. Keep watching, because here we go. I want to touch back on the point where I said difficulty means that something is wrong with you, because it's not. So often we have this desire to become this new person, to take on this new identity, to take on these new habits, and we want to do a whole life overhaul. And I love that idea, in theory. But you're still going to be you. So you need to lean into the things that are you. And the journey is going to be difficult. But that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. The fact that you don't have healthy habits right now, it's not a bad thing. You just were never maybe taught how, or you never learned what is healthy or what is good for your body. I mean, we don't have proper nutrition classes in school, right? And even if we did, sometimes we don't learn the information. Maybe we're not a good student. We just have difficulty learning. Maybe it wasn't presented in a way that was useful for us. I'm working on my course right now, and I'm really trying to incorporate different ways of teaching the material so that people can come away with both the knowledge, but the ability to implement the skill. So my breakfast course, it's called The Breakfast Habit. Sign up for the priority waitlist so that you are the first to know about it when it drops and when I share more information. But basically, I'm taking you through how to actually implement a new habit, how to build breakfast into your daily routine, into your life. And rather than just being like, go have breakfast, huzzah, go have at it, right? Instead of just doing that, I'm teaching you all of the little skills and tools that I've designed in this system to help you actually work through the resistance that you're encountering, work through the obstacles that you're encountering, and really know how to make something fit within your own life. Because we're all busy, life is challenging, there's lots going on, and breakfast may not be your priority. At first thing in the morning, you have all these other things. And so really learning how educational psychology and how that affects the learning patterns that a person goes through and the struggles that they have to go through and how they can feel, secure in their own learning journey. A lot of that has to come down to self-compassion of like, this is going to be hard, and I'm going to do it anyways, and it's going to be uncomfortable, and I might have to experiment and do things that I didn't want to do or that I just don't agree with because I want to try them out and see, oh, this doesn't work for me. I think a lot of times we all assume that we know everything. And yes, absolutely, you are the person who knows your experience the best. But I will say, and I am hella guilty of this as well, we have a tendency as humans to be like, this is what I believe, and this is fact. And then we close off our minds to any other perspectives or opportunities or like ways of thinking. So one of the ways that you can be self-compassionate for yourself is to recognize that you don't know everything, and that's okay. And yes, you have perspectives on your experience, but that doesn't mean that all of the things that you believe are fact, are true, or that there aren't other ways of thinking about things. With my clients, a lot of times they'll come in and they'll have these big ideas about wanting to make a change, but they're very stuck in their ways. And so helping them really see that it's okay to try on a new perspective, a new way of thinking. That doesn't mean that you have to follow it. That doesn't mean that you have to stick with it forever. For example, a lot of people try macro tracking, and I think there is absolutely a benefit to that because it helps you understand how much you're eating, how much you're consuming, and get an idea of how much protein is in this item, how many carbohydrates are in this item, how many fats, and then you have an idea of how you can eat for your body. Now, do I think you should macro track forever? Absolutely not. But there is a benefit to doing it. So, seeing that maybe trying a new way could be useful just to change your perspective and your way of thinking. But that doesn't mean that you have to stick with it forever. You can go back to the old way. If you try a new way and it doesn't work, you can go back to the old way. It's called experimentation for a reason. And what happens with experimentation is it's like trying on new clothes. You put them on, you look in the mirror, you're like, how do we look? Do we look okay? Do we look good? No, we don't. We don't like how this hangs on us. This doesn't fit right. It's a little weird over here. Maybe I could make it work this way. Maybe I could make it work this way. You try it on and you think about how it will fit in your life, right? In the same way that when you're learning something new and you're experimenting, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying on new ways of thinking and being like, does this work for me? And when I'm thinking about, building my breakfast habit, it took me a while to be like, okay, well, first of all, I have to actually have breakfast, right? Because I did come from a background of not having breakfast. Learning how to build that into my life was a change. It was something I had to be like, okay, this is going to be hard. It's going to be a new journey. But I had to sort of commit to the process of, we're going to try this for as long as I feel I need to, right? In order to make it work. And you're committing to that journey of uncomfortability, of being intentional with your thoughts and, strategic in your morning routine, all of that, right? That requires compassion. Because it's new, because it's different, because it requires you to, maybe you have to get up earlier, maybe you have to do a little extra meal prepping, maybe you have to come up with new recipes and fiddle around with things to make them work for you and your family. Like, that requires a level of self-compassion and accepting that being uncomfortable is okay. And it's a journey. Experimentation requires repetition, right? Iteration. Do it again. See how it works. Do it again. See how it works. I've talked a lot recently about my walking journey, right? Like how I've slowly added 3 days a week of walking into my morning routine, and I've slowly added a little bit more over time, etc., etc. Last week was a really, really busy week. My business coach was launching her business program, and so I had less time. I had to be available. I had to be in the inbox. And so I had to be strategic about fitting in my walk and figuring out how it was going to fit into the week, into the changes, into the new challenges, right? So when you are experimenting and you're practicing and you're repeating and you're iterating, a lot of reflection comes into play. And so you're being self-compassionate for yourself and your journey, but you're also looking at, okay, what worked well, what didn't, and you're thinking about that. And I've talked a lot about that in previous episodes. When you do the habit audit, you're reflecting on what you're actually doing. And when you're going through your day and you're trying to build a new habit, you're practicing reflection and paying attention to what are you actually doing, what obstacles are you encountering, how you can work through those things, etc. So a couple weeks ago, I was on a Zoom call in this mastermind that I'm a part of, and I asked a question. And the response to my question was not what I expected. And so I immediately got embarrassed and my face was flushed and I was feeling sweaty and uncomfortable. And I was just like, oh, I do not like this feeling. This is not a fun feeling. I feel embarrassed, right? And I just want to point this out because that feeling only lasted for about 90 seconds. Now, obviously, I kept thinking about it because that's what humans do, but I didn't have to. I didn't have to ruminate on why I was uncomfortable or overthink it. It was just something I was aware of. Okay, I asked this question. It wasn't received the way I thought it would be. And then I was uncomfortable. And I was able to learn from that experience of, I was uncomfortable, but I was still safe. Nothing bad came of it. I wasn't attacked for asking the question. It was just, I felt weird. It was all in my head. The other person didn't intend anything by their response. It was just all in my head. But I want to talk about this because a lot of times when we're going through something and we're learning and we're experimenting, we will look funny. We will look stupid. We will make mistakes. And that feeling of embarrassment, it doesn't have to last. It's only a short little feeling. It goes away in 90 seconds. And you're still safe, for the most part. And so practicing self-compassion really comes down to, it's like a little bit of reparenting, where you are experiencing something that is uncomfortable. And you're telling yourself, hey, this is uncomfortable, but you're safe. Nothing bad is happening. And you can play around in this space of being uncomfortable. You can sit in it. And nothing bad is going to happen. Your life is not threatened. Trying something new, experimenting, failing, all of that with a new habit, it's not life or death. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Pushing yourself out of your comfort zone is uncomfortable, but it's not a threat, right? So learning to sit in that feeling of discomfort and still showing up and still doing it anyway. I didn't get off the Zoom call. I stayed on the call. I listened to the person. I absorbed their information. And then after I was done feeling uncomfortable, I went back to what they had said and I rewatched it and I was like, you know what? I was just uncomfortable because they were sharing a perspective that wasn't mine. And I need to be more open to that rather than jump to, oh my gosh, you're attacking me. All this to say, if you are going through a health journey, I mean, we're all on a fucking health journey. Who am I kidding, right? You're all here because you want to live life. And all of that comes down to mastering the basics, waking up in the morning, having that breakfast that's going to support you through the rest of your day. If you're not doing that, then you should be doing that. And I hate to say should on yourself, but like, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and it really does support you throughout the rest of the day. It's going to stop those cravings. It's going to provide you with that protein that you need in order to start rebuilding the muscles that you're working on building and like fixing the damage that you've done from your workouts. And it's going to give you that energy and focus and really just support you throughout your day so that you can make better choices. One of the things that I really have experienced from not only just having breakfast, but having breakfast with added protein is the fact that I don't get cravings, I don't have snacks. Now, okay, occasionally I'll have a snack, There's a time if I've done an extra heavy workout, I will get snacky later in the day, and that's just because my body's burning through the calories and it's telling me that I need more food, right? So, a lot of this journey is looking at your experience with compassion and being like, this is a journey and I may not know everything and I'm going to learn along the way and I'm going to struggle, and struggle is okay. Struggle is not a bad thing. And I think society has taught us that it is. We've done two things, okay? We've put it on this like, you're not supposed to struggle, right? You're supposed to get results right away. Even like in business coaching, people are like, blah, 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 get results in, 3 weeks, etc. That's not how it works, okay? It's a long journey. It's going to take a lot of dedication and it's going to take work. Keep showing up, embrace your mistakes with compassion, recognize that learning is hard and we weren't really taught how to learn. Like if you struggled in school, you probably weren't supported in the right way. You probably weren't provided with the information in a way that you knew how to understand, that your brain worked. Cool. I think I said something useful here. Hopefully you found some of this useful and that you can take it into your life with a little bit more self-compassion for your learning journey and your experience, and recognize it is going to take a long time. Like change does take time, and it is a constant struggle of, am I still doing the thing? Am I still showing up for me? Am I still implementing? Am I still taking action? I get really stuck in overthinking a lot of the times, and so I totally relate to people who have that experience as well. We get stuck in our thoughts and we forget that, the way to the other side is through action. And having compassion for that struggle, having compassion for the mistakes that we make, and that failure is progress. It's us taking action. If we don't fail, we haven't taken action. Okay, thanks for listening. Make sure to jump on the priority waitlist for the breakfast habit. Coming soon. It's going to be great. I'm really excited about it. I'll share more information in the coming episodes and on my socials. If you're not already following me, go give me a follow. Subscribe to the podcast. Leave a comment, leave a rating, leave a review, whatever you got to do. And I will catch you next time. Ciao.